There we go. It took me a minute to figure that one out.
But yeah, if there's any questions or anything like that, or if I have went too fast or some of it is just kind of together, just let me know. But I'll go ahead and get started. So our Savior's Lighthouse is a child and family development center. We opened April 1st, 2019. We survived the pandemic. And I have to say that was a miracle. Not only did we survive, we expanded. And we started out with one preschool room for 10 kids. We now have three preschool rooms. Well, we have 3 classrooms total, and then an after school program hosting 44 kids.
Where are you?
We are in the Lutheran Church in Camdenton. And it is a mission of our church. We work really closely with them. Every Friday, Pastor Dan does a sermon with our children. So that when we first started, our main goal was to reach children in the community that needed a little bit more support, whether it be at home with their behavior or even learning. And we started working really closely with CADB. And then when we expanded, we kind of branched out and we got onto what we call state subsidy, which is a funding program that parents can get on to receive childcare assistance for payment for us. So then we started taking a lot of lower income families into our program, which then we discovered we didn't have enough space. So we opened up a 2-year-old room. And then the 2-year-old room, it got full. And then people were like, how about an infant room? And in the middle of being closed for COVID, we opened an infant room. A bunch of us kind of went in and just tore out carpet and started doing all sorts of things. And when we came back from the pandemic, we had an infant room. And then that room was full, and we slowly just kept going. And now we have after school kids, and we have 20 after school kids every day. And then during the summertime, I host 26 of them for a summer camp. So as far as that goes, our goal in the community is to provide service to families that is more than just daycare. There's a lot of daycares, there's a lot of child centers and things like that. But our goal is to work closely with the families and the needs of their children and the needs of the families. Right now, we've been partnered with Camden County Disability Resource Center for 4 years. We now host 3 of their children and work really closely with them and their team leads and things like that. We have physical therapists that come in to work with these children. We have speech therapists that come in and work with them in our buildings because it doesn't work with the parents' schedule. And then we also have my after school teacher. She is doing, I wouldn't call it tutoring so much, but one of our children through CCDDR needs extra help on learning. My teacher is now, she spends 45 minutes a day with a student to help her progress in her school age. So we kind of do that. As far as our preschool program goes, we are a play-based center. So with that being said, we did partner with the DESE school programs. We do offer the teaching strategies curriculum. So not only do we work with their disabilities and their learning abilities and things like that, we now fully operate as a actual preschool. We have a licensed teacher and the whole bit. So we offer that for our families. We do also have, like I said, we are part of the Lutheran Church, so a lot of this is faith-based. Not only do they do their normal lessons during the day, but then in the afternoons, they do a 30-minute Bible lesson based off of what Pastor Dan has taught them the Friday before. We do host Christmas programs with them, with our church children as well, so that we stay together as a group since we are a ministry of the Lutheran Church. So our goal like I said, our goal in the community is mainly to help the families and help the children. My bigger goal in my foreseeable future is we would like to expand. potentially in the next couple years. It's been heavily talked about. We're slowly outgrowing, the basement of the church for our after school program. And as of right now, I have received every single year, I receive about 4 to 5 different grants. So I work day and night getting these grants to keep the school going when, we lose funding from the state. That happened back in December when Minnesota pulled their shenanigans and we got all of our funding paused. So when that happened, we sat down with the church council and we told them what we had lost. And we had a lot of them step up and pay for the children that were not receiving money at the time, so that way the children could still attend our school. We do host fundraisers. We started to do parents' nights. They haven't really kicked off or anything like that. I'm not sure if we'll continue to do those. We used to host parent classes where we could bring, parents could sign up and come in. We would teach them discipline policies, things like that to help them, especially ones that are in CADV. A lot of them need extra assistance on their children, especially if they have
What's CAD?
Citizens Against Domestic Violence. Yes. So a lot of those kids, when they came to us, the families were barely getting by, as far as they were barely able to bring them to the daycare. Some of them didn't have cars and things like that. And that's kind of how we ended up with the Disability Resource Center as well. They heard about us and they reached out and we combined. So, is there anything that I left out?
I'm just gotta ask a broad question.
Okay.
Now, there's a Methodist church in town, there's a Catholic church, there's a number of Baptist churches, there's a number of churches in town. Don't they have programs for children too? And how do you fit in with that?
So I know that I Wonder Why has a childcare preschool program, and the same for We Care. We are different than they are, though. They are mainly daycares. So they bring their children in and you leave your kids and they play with them and they do all the stuff. We do not only school stuff with the children, but we do developmental things with them. We do social emotional learning. We do a lot of, we have a 2-year-old who can't walk still. We do a lot of work with him. We bring in different people to work with them. A lot of these other places, they don't offer those services, and they don't offer that kind of learning in their schools.
So what specifically would you have this grant targeted for a specific project, or is it for general funding?
It would be for general funding. We obviously are a not-for-profit organization. So we like to try to get as much funding as we can in case of no funding, which is we lost funding for 3 months, and that took 75% of our income away. We still have to pay our teachers to be there if the children are still going to be there. We don't want to put families out. So the purpose of the grant is to be able to stay afloat if we lose funding again this year.
What's typical cost per child?
So our preschool classroom is $175 a week. Our 2-year-olds and our infants is $215 a week. Our after school rate is $66 a week per child, unless they're there for the summer camp, which is $175 a week per child.
So how closely do you align with the Children's Learning Center and First Steps and things like that?
So First Steps only comes in if we have a referral to them. They don't come in like they do to Children's Learning Center. They have been there a few times for us, for a few kids that we referred. Other than that, we don't really closely work with them per se. We work more with parents as teachers. Yes.
So in the, I love and appreciate the forward thinking that moves in funding, especially since that seems to be a bigger and bigger issue, not only for child development, but there in general. If the general fund is not used because funding isn't done, how is that managed? How are you maintaining that fund?
We are we have a separate account that we put all of our grants, all of our donations into, And if we have a project that needs to be completed, or if we need to do updates to a classroom and or to the playground, which we just had to do, that money is used for that. So that way we don't pull from our payroll and our food expense for accounts.
How much does it cost to feed the kids? I mean, are we doing breakfast and lunch?
So we are in the USDA food program. So we do a full breakfast and a full lunch and then an afternoon snack. But since we are on that program, everything it's fresh. We don't use frozen products. We try not to use frozen products, as we used to have a cook that she would make homemade chicken nuggets. She has since left us. So we're going to be back to Tyson chicken nuggets, but we still do home cooked breakfasts, lunches and things like that. As far as cost goes, it's about $250 to $350 a week to feed them, depending on the menu.
What's the, I guess, balance of for what the parents are paying compared to what you're putting out with the grants that you get and stuff? I'm just trying to figure out what that ratio is for.
So our grants are usually small that we receive. I have never received a grant. Except for the DESE program, we released a bunch of COVID grants. And we received 3 of those grants and they were $20,000 a piece. And that went to our infant room that we built and our 2-year-old room. And then it also went to to the church for some updates that needed to be done for some inspections. As far as our parent tuition currently, we just had our board meeting on Monday, and our parent tuition, it pays our payroll and our food expenses. So the grants and the subsidies and things like that, it takes care of our taxes and our insurance liabilities, and then our summer camp activities.
Are there any other questions? Is there a question you were hoping we would ask that we didn't?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so.
Are you at capacity right now, or?
I am, yes. We stay at capacity. I think there's been a few times where I have a couple open spots, but I'm at capacity 90% of the time, yeah.